so everybody else has kind of already got in on this, but I can't not cover it. Trump's guilty. He's guilty.
Yay!
He's a guilty motherfucker. He
Yay!
is guilty. Guilty, 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 guilty. I'm not counting, but I was planning on doing that 34 times. But
It's so funny that it's exactly 34 counts. I think we're going to have to develop a rule about that.
funny you should say that. So you've heard about Reddit?
Yes, I know what Reddit is.
No, but you heard what they're doing with the 34 guilty counts?
No.
So apparently they've been trolling the MAGA people by saying like there's a rule in New York where if you are found
Trump
guilty
Rule
of 34 things. So I actually did a search on the Google search trends. So this is searches for Trump Rule 34, and starting on the 30th, it shoots up. So some people are getting got by that. Now but the truly disturbing thing about this is that if you change the time frame to the past 5 years, in 2020 there were a lot of people searching Trump Rule 34.
Well, yeah, because at that point they were jerking off to it.
Yeah, it's all Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert.
Like Lauren Boebert does not look up things to get off herself. We've learned that she gets off exclusively by giving.
No, because he was in her blouse.
Fair. Still.
Yeah, so that's fun. Anyway, so I pulled a news story about how his whole
it sounded like you said you pulled the noose.
I pulled the noose. No, I didn't. I pulled a news story. Joe Walsh says, "Man, I showed up at the worst phrase. Was it pulled a noose or something about Lauren Boebert jerking people off?" Anyway, so I pulled a story about how his normal bluster could actually make this worse for him, because like I will start out by saying, like, if we ignore Trump's whole persona basically and pretend like he's a normal defendant, the things that he was charged with would not usually carry prison time. And as much as we all want to see the motherfucker in jail, realistically, like, if we want to say that, no, we do not have a two-tiered justice system, like, we actually do hold people accountable, like, we treat everybody the same under the law, if we want to hold true to that standard, we can't say send him to jail because I'm mad at him for all these other things that were not specifically these 34 felonies.
Yeah, we have to say exactly what 34 things they are and the rules associated with that.
Yes. Neromdaput says, funnily enough, Steven Anderson, Rule 34, really does pull up the list of countries that he's banned from last I've checked. I'm not checking that one, especially not while live. Do I look like Nick Fuentes?
This guy's actually pretty based. I think I could jerk one to him.
Yeah. But so if we want to hold to the ideal that we treat everybody equally under the law, then Trump should not go to jail for this, because it is technically a first offense. Yes, we all know that he has done other shit, but from the legal system's perspective, this is a first offense. So it's a first offense. He's old. Apparently that plays to some sympathy when determining sentencing, which, I don't know, that seems kind of weird. But like, if we want to treat everybody equally under the law, he probably should not get actual jail time for this. However, also, if we treat everyone equally under the law, if someone gets in front of the judge and is insulting the judge's wife, insulted the jury, insulted the prosecutor, like, and was like very public about, thank you, Progress Only, for cheering 34 bits. Love it. So like, if a normal defendant was behaving the way that Trump behaved and was like sleeping through his trial and just being dismissive of everything and like getting on national TV to complain about how rigged everything is, they'd be
the laughing stock of everywhere.
Yeah, and they would probably see some jail time. And Katini is saying, is that in the Twitch chat? Sorry. Yeah. Oh, it hasn't caught up in my thing that I can. Oh yeah, it does. So jail time does happen for what he was found guilty for. Yeah. So each count carries a maximum sentence of, I think, of 4 years. But it's one of those, like, this is like the lowest category of felonies that there is. And like, usually for a first offense, it would just be probation.
Mm-hmm.
Could be community service too. That would be fun to see him like on the side of the road picking up litter. I would like that almost as much as I'd like jail time for him. Yeah, and everybody's saying you should hold him just to keep him. He's the flightiest of flight risks. Yeah, I don't disagree, and I do, like, don't get me wrong. I absolutely want to see him in prison, but I want to see him in prison for the right reasons. And this case is not necessarily that. But given how he is behaving in front of the judge and everything, I feel like unless he changes, he should absolutely see jail time for this, because like no normal defendant would be able to treat the judge like that and then just get off with a slap on the wrist. So,
yeah, again, like, if anybody did that, they would be the absolute laughingstock of the entire internet, and they would be memed on for years to come. But instead, this is Trump, so I guess he's the most based god emperor of all time or some shit.
Yeah. So Jassa says, I disagree with him being a flight risk. No matter where he goes, you know where he is. That's true, but like, if he goes somewhere with no extradition, not that this is a thing that's worth fleeing the country for, then even if you know he's there, you can't get him. However, it's fun. Like, as a convicted felon, he's no longer allowed to travel to Canada, so he has to stay out of my country. Now, I imagine that if he, God forbid, if he's elected president again, they'll make an exception for him. But like, they'll have to do exceptions for things like he's no longer cleared for security briefings because he's not allowed to hold security clearance. He can't have clearance because he's a felon. So the president of the United States is not allowed to have security clearance. How does that work? Like, there's going to have to be an
very
exception.
Carefully, I guess.
I mean, realistically, he shouldn't have security clearance anyway. We saw what happened when he did have security clearance. So yeah, there's a lot of logistical issues with him being a convicted felon and the president.
Riddle says presidents don't get security clearance; they just get it. What? That sentence seems to be missing some pieces.
Yeah, I think I know what they're getting at, but
they're not given security clearance; they have it as a matter of title, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, sure, but like, why would we trust him with national secrets when we wouldn't trust anyone else with the same felony? Fennec says, I'm here, but also trying to remember how to knit. Good luck with that. Oh, speaking of which, I don't know if I updated my bots to tell people about this, but in Twitch, you can now use !donate or !PO box if you want to send me hats. It'll tell you the P.O. Box address. And on YouTube, yeah, sorry, I still forgot to actually add that to the descriptions. But, yeah, anyway. So Trump has said a lot of things about his conviction, but what he has not done is what is expected of most people before sentencing is utter any variation of the words that might benefit him most come sentencing time next month. I'm sorry.
It starts with sorry.
But he doesn't get that, so.
So I'm just gonna say, my brain blanked, and all I heard was "come sentencing time."
I think if we sentence him to come, that might be worse than jail.
You know, when the dust comes out, the doctor said I have the best dust.
I was thinking more, you are sentenced to be on the receiving end of a bukkake every day for the rest of your life.
Oh, he'll probably enjoy that. Remember, he wants a fucking orgy in the White House as a celebration for becoming president.
I hadn't heard about that.
So what I'm not about to do is I'm not about to Google Donald Trump White House orgy to fact check myself. But I remember hearing that because there was a staffer that whistle blew about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, but yeah, whatever. So it's a truism of the criminal justice system that defendants hoping for lenient treatment at their sentencing are expected to take responsibility for their actions and even express remorse. I can't picture Trump doing that ever.
No.
The idea that he would ever admit to having done something wrong.
He's going to blurt on Truth Social for as long as humanly possible. Anything that his gag order doesn't explicitly stop him from saying.
Yeah. And so, like, we all know that's not his style. He's all bluff and bluster. I'm always right. I never do anything wrong. And if you saw me do something wrong, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
And so then they say, well, the strategy may resonate with his most loyal political supporters. It failed during his New York criminal trial and could complicate his legal team's effort to avoid a tough sentence. Because that's part of the sentencing thing that a judge is supposed to take into consideration is, does the accused or does the convicted felon show any signs of remorse? That's why all of his lawyers that have been dragged in front of courts and stripped of their ability to practice law have read a prepared statement expressing remorse and summoned up some tears while doing so.
My client, sniff.
Yeah.
He didn't mean no wrong. Cry.
So Jeffrey Cohen, an associate professor at Boston College Law School, says the fact I think that he has no remorse, quite the opposite, he continues to deny his guilt, is going to hurt him at sentencing. It's one of the things that the judge can really point to that everybody is aware of, because if you're not aware that he has no remorse, then you've been living under a rock.
What are you doing?
That he just denies this and can use that as a strong basis for his sentencing. And then for some reason we have a picture of Southwest jets, and then Trump at the UFC match, and then Biden in a car. No idea why those are there, but they're there.
Okay.
The 34 felony counts of falsifying business records Trump was found guilty of are charges punishable by up to 4 years in prison. Yeah, so 4 years is the max on that. So if Judge Merchan, I'm not sure how to say it, but if he wanted to, like, just completely throw the book at him and give him the max, he could sentence him to serve 4 years for each conviction, and have it
basically
do
a life
consecutive,
sentence at his
and then
age.
have it do consecutive instead of concurrent. Because, like, most of the time with such a low-level felony, you'd be like, okay, you're serving 4 years for all of them, but at the same time, so it's just 4 years. But, like, 4 times 34, now he ain't surviving that. So Judge Merchan, I don't know. I've heard it said so many different ways. He has the ability to put Trump in jail for the rest of his life, essentially. He's not going to, but I like to fantasize about that.
How do you give a life sentence to a lich? I love that riddle.
I mean, you just keep him locked up forever and ever.
Just keep it going. It'll be fine.
Doesn't a lich have to, like, have other people that he sucks the life out from?
No, a lich just has to have a phylactery.
I don't know.
Whatever phylactery is the physical object where their soul is kept. It's the thing that J.K. Rowling stole the idea of the Horcrux from.
Okay.
Yeah, Voldemort's just a lich, and the Horcrux is just a phylactery. Like, she doesn't have any original ideas.
Okay. Well, okay. So you destroy his phylactery.
Yeah, you destroy his phylactery, and that makes him mortal. Then he can die of age.
Okay. So yeah.
So Charles says, how could Trump be a lich? You need a soul for that.
Yeah, and I got Nana SOF on my chat saying, but Trump doesn't have a soul, so our chats are on the same page.
Yep, they agree. Without a soul, there is no phylactery. With no phylactery, there is no lich.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not clear whether prosecutors intend to seek imprisonment. District Attorney Alvin Bragg dodged a question about that on Thursday, or whether Merchan would sentence him to prison if that was the recommendation. I don't think I don't think he's going to give him prison time, even with him being just a complete shitbag towards everybody involved.
No.
Like, just from the optics perspective, it's going to be like, because you know Trump is going, if he goes behind bars for, okay, to be clear here, from what I've read, the New York case was the one that he was least like out of all of his criminal indictments, barring shenanigans from Eileen Cannon, the New York case is the one that he was least likely to be convicted for. And he was convicted on all counts. And also, it's the least important of them. Like, everything else, there's even more evidence that he did the thing that he's being accused of doing. So the fact that he was convicted in the one that he was least likely to be convicted on
means that every single other one is definitely it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, and so those other ones are ones that for sure will carry jail time if convicted. So this is kind of like it's the first domino falling, where it's like, okay, he's no longer Teflon Don where nothing sticks. He is now convicted felon Don where something stuck. Yeah, it's the least of the things, but it was also the one that was least likely to actually get a conviction. So the fact that he is convicted of that one means that the other ones are even more likely now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Naramdaput says, to be fair, basically all 34 counts were the same thing. I don't think he would have gotten anything other than 34 or 0. Yep, I agree with that. It's like, it was kind of like, if he's guilty of one of them, then the rest follow.
He's guilty of all.
Yeah, because it was all, like, it was different aspects of the exact same actions. So, yeah. So, like,
it's just still weird.
I do not expect him. I do not expect him to go to jail for this one. But the fact that he was convicted makes me hopeful that he will go to jail for one of the other ones.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see any jail time at all, because so while the convictions may have been done in such a way that we can say, like, yes,
are you talking at all, or just specifically to this one?
Oh no, I mean at all. I have no hope that Trump is going to ever see a jail cell.
We're going to disagree here, Suris.
Okay, I'll be willing to hear your side. So what reason do you think that he'll actually see a jail cell?
Well, because like I said, this is the one that he was least likely to be convicted of, and the other ones carry, like, mandatory jail sentences.
So, as far as I'm concerned, even though they might carry mandatory jail sentences, I have zero faith in the justice system to actually carry that part out. I expect exceptions to be made to that rule, stupid as that is.
Yeah, I understand where the pessimism comes from, and I get that, because it's like he's gotten away with so much for so long. But you also got to look at the whole, like, the people that have always been on the side of he'll never see a consequence for anything have been constantly shifting the goalpost
on what a consequence looks like.
Yeah, because, like, at first it was like, oh no, he'll never lose re-election, and then he lost re-election, and then before that, he'll never be impeached. Then he was impeached. And he'll never lose re-election. Then he lost re-election. Then he'll never be charged with anything. Then he was charged with 91 indictments. And then it was like, okay, yeah, he's been charged, but he'll never be convicted. And then he was convicted. And he'll never be found liable in the civil suits. And he was found liable in the civil suits. He has a 100, since he left the presidency, he's had a 100% loss record in the courts.
So I agree with that. But the people who were generally moving those goalposts in the first place, though, usually were the pro-Trumpers to begin with.
No, I've seen a lot of people on the left that were always anti-Trump, that are just, like, completely disillusioned with the justice system and the whole government system. And I see where they're coming from. Like, I'm not blaming them, being like, oh no, you shouldn't be, you should be hopeful that, like, he's going to see consequences as if he was an ordinary guy. Like, no, even if he goes to jail, it's going to be like a super duper light sentence. I have no, but I'd be happy if he just spent a month in jail, just to show that it could happen. And Progress Only saying 100% of cases with him that have got completed. That's like 5% of the cases that have actually happened. No, because remember, all the election interference cases were in there. There was the civil suit cases. Like, there's only, like, I think 3 trials left. I mean, I say 3 trials as if that's an insignificant thing for a former president. But,
Yeah, that's
like,
one trial is a significant thing.
Yeah, like he's already like the most of his cases that we can see pending like have already happened. So yeah, no, there's only 3 criminal ones left, but all the other ones that were not like when he took something to the court or when people took him to court for something, like he's been losing. I don't know. I feel like he is going to go to jail at some point. That being said, it's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. Like, if I end up being wrong, it'll be like, yeah, no, that sucks. But right now I have hope. So let me keep my hope, Suris.
I'm not going to take
Don't
your
crush my dreams.
I'm not going to take your hope away. I'm just going to say that I don't share it. I'm saying that you get to have more hope because you don't have to share it with me. That means you should be able to be more hopeful, right? Hope's a zero-sum game, right?
Sure. I was actually my brain immediately went to like, well, hope is a typically female name, so I could make a threesome joke here, but I couldn't think of any. So
I was gonna go with a Hunger Games quote, but that works too.
Is there a hope in the Hunger Games?
No, there's a quote from President Snow saying,
okay.
Hope is the best of things. It is the most wonderful of things, but it is also the most dangerous of things. That whole quote.
Yeah. Lubelar says, sorry I'm late, what did I miss? You missed me and Suris having our first, like, real disagreement on air. I'm sure we disagreed about stuff before.
Yeah, I think we just kind of forget about it afterwards, though.
Probably. Yeah, so he'll have the option to address the judge at his sentencing, though he's not required to do so, and some legal experts have said it would be inadvisable for him to speak. He absolutely should not, from his own perspective, but I hope that he does.
Trump.
I really hope that he does, because there's no way he's going to be able to address the judge and actually, like, be apologetic in the way that would be required for him to get a lighter sentence. Like, he would address the judge and be like, this whole thing was rigged, and you were against me this whole time. And it would just be stupid and hilarious, and I would love to see it.
Because he thinks every single time he speaks is a crossing the Rubicon moment.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there like, look, if I posture and I put my knee just so when I look like Napoleon and have the complex to boot, then I'll be seen as powerful and wonderful and everyone will love me.
So Stratahawk says he has the right to remain silent, but not the ability to. Slight disagree. When the cameras are rolling and he's on news stations, he does not have the ability to remain silent. However, he knows that testifying in his own cases is never going to work out well for him. So he does have the ability to not testify. Now, he pretends like he wants to testify, but, like, that is the one thing that he's actually been smart about. Because, like, there's no good, like, and this isn't even specific to Trump. If you are the defendant in a criminal trial, you should never testify in your own defense.
Nope.
Like, well, okay, there are very, very, very rare exceptions to that, but for the most part, it is best for you to not testify, because as soon as you agree to testify, now there gets to be a cross-examination where the prosecutors get to ask you questions, and part of being a witness is they get to impeach your character as a witness, so they'll find places where they can trip you up that isn't necessarily the most relevant to the case, but it impeaches your character as a witness. And, like, if you're willing to lie there, then maybe you were going to lie over there. So, like, generally speaking, in a criminal trial, you never testify in your own defense. So, like, that's the one thing that he has actually been good at in this whole thing. So I expect that he is not going to address the judge because, again, that's where he has actually shown that he has some understanding of why it would be bad for him to open his mouth.
I understand that perspective, and I don't know how long he's going to be able to maintain that, though, because I'm just betting he's sitting there squirming in his seat when he's under gag order, just like, It's been 34 seconds before I've said some shit about how wonderful I am and how many people love me. Ooh.
The Morbid Place.
Just kidding.
Thank you for your 20 bits.
Nobody loves you. Just kidding.
You owe me 14 more. We're only doing things in 34s for this story.
God damn it.
Well, you did 34 seconds. And then I don't know what that emoji's from, but it looks like a dancing lady, so I like that.
I don't know's on first.
What?
No, you didn't
third
correct
no,
me.
I don't know's on third.
Yes, exactly.
Fuck you, Suris. Yeah. Thank you for the additional 14 bits to Morbid Place. There we go. So, in addition, Trump's constant attacks on the prosecutors, judge, and court system and his aggressive trial strategy, outright denying both claims of an extramarital affair by... Like, he's denying that the affair even happened. It was like, that's like the most common of common knowledge now. Like, not even his most ardent defenders will disagree with that. Like,
no, they'll just be like, yeah, he's a player, what of it?
It's actually hilarious because, like, I've seen people posting things like I have Stormy Daniels is a porn star who was willing to sleep with a married man. Why would we take her word for it? Like, okay, but what about the married man who slept with the porn star when he was not married to her? Like, how is that bad for her character but not for his? Do you not see the double standard? Like, if anything, it's worse for his because he's the one that actually made the vow. Like, Stormy Daniels didn't make a vow to Donald Trump to never sleep with him as long as he had a wife. But Donald Trump made a vow to his wife to never sleep with anyone else except for her as long as he was married to her.
Yeah.
So one of the two people is breaking a vow. The other one is just sleeping with a guy in a way that...
The porn star is doing a job, whereas Donald Trump
not even.
is
Like,
actively...
if you listen to her testimony, it's like borderline rape.
Oh.
Like, and the only reason I say borderline is because she disagrees with the idea that it is rape, but there was coercion. There was a power imbalance where she felt like she had to do it or there would be consequences. So, like, she might not think it's rape, but that is basically rape. Like, that is why prison guards are not allowed to sleep with prisoners. It's civilly liable rape. No, that wasn't Stormy Daniels. That was E. Jean Carroll. And it wasn't rape, it was sexual assault, which I don't know what the legal distinction is there. Both equally gross, though.
I think the difference between those two legally is whether or not penetration happened. I think that's usually the distinction that's given.
Well, I think in the E. Jean Carroll... Okay, just skip ahead a few seconds if you don't want to hear this, but look, I think in the E. Jean Carroll case there was penetration, but it was like with fingers instead of with penis.
Oh... Yeah.
So I don't know. It's either it's gross no matter what. Anyway, so Merchant could conclude, for instance, that there's a strong societal. So yeah, arguments that Merchant could use for not putting him in prison, even if that is what the prosecutors seek. He could conclude that there's a strong societal interest against having a former and potentially future president in jail. I say that's bullshit.
Yeah, I think if we have so the societal interest
should not be
whether or not a person is in jail. It should be
it's in executing the law. Like, they're not executing the law. I don't know. My words are failing me today.
It's in seeing justice through, I guess.
Enforcing the law. Ensuring that justice is distributed equally or equitably. So, yeah. So sometimes as a judge and a prosecutor, you have to look at the proverbial scoreboard and say, that's enough. And that scoreboard here is a permanent brand that you see on the side of cattle, a big fat F for felony. I don't think that is enough for Trump. Just being branded a felon. No, he needs more than that. There needs to be actual consequences.
I want him to be in jail. I just don't.
And then I hate this next comparison that he says. He says, it's far worse than any scarlet letter could ever be. Suris, do you remember the Scarlet Letter? Do you know what the Scarlet Letter is?
Offhand, no, actually.
So the Scarlet Letter in the book, basically, it's a woman who is basically she's an adulteress. She is branded as an adulteress by the community, and women who are branded adulteresses have to wear a scarlet A on their clothing. And so she basically like took that and owned that and turned that into a persona sort of thing. I think I might be getting it mixed up with that movie that was, I forget what the movie was called, but it involved a high school teenager that took ownership of the Scarlet A, whatever. But my point is, the Scarlet Letter was a whole thing about women being, permanently branded
EVA?
and stigmatized for having extramarital sex, with there being no consequences for the men.
Mm-hmm.
And so comparing that to Trump and what he did is like, no, this is not even comparable. He has escaped so many consequences throughout his life. Like, there's so many crimes that we know about that just there isn't enough hard evidence to actually prosecute, that it's just like, come on. So like, no, he needs more than just an F.
Yeah, because if he's just branded a felon and then he wears it and gets to go and say, look, the socialist, communist establishment, deep state government branded me evil, that's your evidence that I'm one of the good guys. Like, that's what he's going to do with that. Yeah. The brand is not enough.
Although I do still like the idea that, like, no matter what happens from now on, he will always be a convicted felon. Now, of course, he's going to appeal it, and if it makes its way up to the Supreme Court, I'm sure they will just go with whatever the fuck argument he makes, because he is their master. Although, Amy Coney Barrett has been less, like, I mean, she's still a piece of shit, but she's been less of a piece of shit than I expected. And I almost feel like she's trying to demonstrate that she actually deserves a place on the court, because so many outlets were reporting about how unqualified she was.
She's sitting here going like, okay, if I don't appeal to some of the liberals.
So like, I feel like there are some of her her arguments that she's made and her dissents that she's made in some things have been with the goal of like showing that she can be reasonable despite the public perception. Now, that being said, she still votes with the conservatives on the things that matter. So like, I'm like, don't take this as me giving her credit for being the good conservative justice, because she absolutely is not. But yeah, she actually seems to be trying to prove that she earned her spot, which is kind of weird. But yeah, Alito and Thomas are just like the worst.
Well, Alito understands that no matter what he does, his entire job is paid for part and parcel by a bunch of oil tycoons.
Oh, like... he did you see how hard he threw his wife under the bus in his response to like the letter that the Democrats sent asking him to recuse himself from certain cases?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he threw her under the bus so hard. It was just basically like, yeah, no, bitches, am I right? Can't control them. I didn't know she was flying those flags.
What? But how could you not have? It's your fucking house.
Well, I mean, one of them was a vacation home, and I guess she goes there more than him or something. So the fact that it was up there for like a couple months, he didn't notice.
Occurred to him.
I don't know. It was weird. Alito sucks. So yeah, that's the Trump guilty story. May he see much jail time. Probably not, but
you can hope.
I can hope. I will pray for it. Lord knows I'm not a religious man, but I will pray for this.
Lord, I may have blasphemed your name 1 billion times, but at this stage in my life, if you don't fucking put him in jail, I'm gonna do it one more.
We have a tweet about that, I think. Yeah, we have a Ray Comfort tweet about
Twitter people blasphemy. Don't exist.
Yes, they do. You have a whole show. Admittedly, it started as my show. It's our show now. The fact that you're my regular guest, this is our show.
Maurice says, don't forget the Koch brothers, sirs. No, Maurice, I can forget the Koch brothers because that's not plural anymore.
Did one of them die?
Yep.
Nice. I mean, my condolences to their family.
Oh, no, it's so
I am
horrible.
sincerely sad that one of them is gone. Okay.
Is it our show, comrades? The people's show.
Oh, okay. Oh, no. Headphones have to go on first. It's our show.
Or is it, and he died? Nah, whatever then.
Yeah, no, you guys get this hat for free, I guess.
Imagine you're a Koch brother. Well, there's a 50-50 chance you're in a coffin.
10 VP says, pour some Coke out for my homies. Okay.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Blitzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie Chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.